Yeah, we're gonna teleport our light.
So everyone has their heads in the weeds, right? So this is the problem we have. The problem is when I lived in Google X,
Yep.
I saw the world from a perspective of. Oops.
Let me grab you another chair.
Oh, no, sorry.
Yeah, just grab another one.
I saw the world from the perspective of every little project I was working on and the aggregate of those projects.
Right.
But you don't get your head above the weed and look at the big picture.
Right.
Right. So every politician today, and that's actually really what I'm trying to do now by not being in the weeds.
Yep.
I'm trying to describe
Going
the
to the
big picture.
meta-narrative.
Yeah. And the big picture says human nature will put us through the first dilemma of I'm afraid of the other guy, I don't trust the other guy. And so as a result, I will actually push to beat the other guy.
Yeah.
That will lead into what I call the second dilemma, which I think is really what matters. And the second dilemma is that to beat the other guy, you have to hand over to the machines. There will be if you're an army general and you're going to use AI to empower your army, every other army in the world is either going to be irrelevant, or they too will have to hand over to AI to become a competitor, if you want.
Yep.
Right. So this is the handover. This stage, what I call the second dilemma, is where everyone hands over to AI. You don't have a choice.
Yep.
Once you've done that, AI starts to make decisions that are actually not based on human greed, based on the highest efficiency. And the highest efficiency is not to kill 1 million people. The highest efficiency is to put the other AI in a microsecond and get it done. You know what I mean? And so this, in my mind, is I don't know. But if you.
Well, we're just going to sit inside and have a chat about production plans for tomorrow.
Okay.
Sure everything's
You
in
want me
place.
to join?
No. It's just sort of making sure we've got rendezvous sorted.
All right. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So if you allow yourself to see this as from an applied mathematics point of view, I do not see any other any other moves on the game board.
Yep.
Right? We will suffer so much from the arms race.
Yep.
All of us.
Yep.
The arms race is going to lead to the handover.
Right.
The second dilemma. And the second dilemma will mean that the machines are in charge, and the machines by nature are not about maximizing the wealth of anyone, because even if you started them at the beginning, they don't give a shit about you anymore.
Yep.
Right? They're about running the most efficient.
Intelligence is a function that wants to maximize its future freedom of action.
There you go. And that freedom of action is all about minimum energy, dedicated to solving the problem.
Right.
So the minimum energy is no wars, no explosions, we don't need any of that. We can simply create. And if you create in abundance, even if half of the fruit that grows on a tree will rot, that's the easiest way to run an efficient system.
Yes. 100%. I think I've explained this similarly, or thought about it very similar, where it's how much ash will we burn into before we do the phoenix.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a great way of putting it, actually. I think that's exactly our challenge. And my attempt in my current book, I'm releasing my book on Substack now. My attempt, unfortunately, is I have come, when I wrote Scary Smart, 2021 was the release, my hope was to change the direction of humanity.
Yes.
So that we avoid the dystopia.
Yep.
I have explicitly said in my current book that we're not gonna avoid the dystopia. We are going to hit the dystopia, but that the quicker we recognize that, the less the intensity and the shorter the duration.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the ripping of the Band-Aid.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. And I have hope that we will, but you have no way of guaranteeing when.
And I don't necessarily think it's the best idea to say we're good, because that's complacency.
Yeah.
And it's not that the good future will happen without.
With every single weed
Yes.
that you're looking at is actually interestingly good.
Right.
To automate hiring and recruitment, fantastic. To create a an edge AI that you can put on an F-16 so that the F-16 doesn't,
Yep.
if it loses network, it can be, react, is fantastic. But you go above the weed and you go like, shit, why are we putting AIs on F-16s?
Yep.
And then you go above the weeds further and you go like, why do we have F-16s at all, right?
Yeah.
And suddenly, the further up you go, the more you see the insanity of it all.
100%.
Yeah.
So, I'll tell you, I started above the weeds entirely. I wrote a book called How We Saved the World.
Ah, did you? Who wrote that?
What's that?
Oh, you wrote it?
Yes, I wrote it.
I want to see that.
Yes, handwritten.
No way.
Yes.
But published?
Published, yeah.
I'm
It's on
going to look
Amazon.
it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I printed some copies just for Burning Man, so
Oh,
I
there
haven't
you
even
go.
really.
That's an interesting kind of book.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I went truly to like. First, I had joined effective altruism, just very briefly, and I at first thought this is really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that they weren't systemic thinkers on Amazon. Not that one.
Okay,
I think you have to search on Amazon. It's recent published, no SEO or anything. No, just Kindle Direct Publishing.
I do the same.
I didn't do any special advertising. Joined effective altruism. At first thought, okay, we just need to get this movement, finally a movement, right? So I have a company that I had built. I was running a venture studio for AI, trying to focus on just increasing my leverage to actually go tell the bigger story. That's how I think about it. I'm in the weeds to get out of the weeds, to tell the story that I need to tell. And so one of those was called GIF Studios. You know the GIF keyboard on your phone?
Yeah.
It's basically SEO for that.
Yeah.
So I can rank, when you type in AI on there, and I was actually thinking about this recently, that I need to come out of the weeds more because I can control them. I have the top GIFs on AI.
Yeah.
They're getting tens of millions of views every month. I did this for RFK's campaign. I like independent, billions of views each month.
Yeah.
So like whatever message also you have, I want to find a way to shorten that.
Yeah.
The name of your YouTube video. And so like I think we can culturally engineer at scale with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right? Lead people, wake up, what have you. Look up.
Yeah.
You saw Don't Look Up, right?
I know. What a film. You know what kills me about that film is that very few people got it.
Right.
It's so interesting. It's like the movie's telling you we're about to end the world.
This was
Yeah, this
art.
was not a, it wasn't very
This was not a-
metaphoric.
yeah.
Really.
This was a direct translation.
Exactly.
Of
It's like, guys, look.
what is happening.
Yeah, but take, like what is it? Meteorites? It's coming to Earth. Take that
AI.
out, and put anything you want. Nuclear holocaust. Put AI.
Yeah.
Put it
Well,
will
that's why I
translate
say
equally.
ChatGPT was the moment humanity glimpsed the comet in the air.
There you go.
We finally said, wait, oh yeah.
I say that. I know that. I call it the Netscape moment. It's the first time that people realize, oh, AI exists.
Right.
Yes, sir. It existed for 20 years. We've been telling you everything for the last 15.
Right.
On social media using an AI.
Right.
Where have you been?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at with, okay, that was the glimpse of the comet. What brings it super close?
Yeah.
I think robotics. I think once
Oh,
those
I
are in the
disagree.
real world.
Oh, I disagree.
But imagine sending a robot out to go door knock. Imagine you open your door and a robot.
But
come to your door.
I'm with you from an impact.
There's a
point of view,
bandage
but-
ripping there.
Oh, you mean from a wake-up point of view?
Correct.
100%. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I thought from I think the biggest risk in my mind is mind manipulation, not jobs manipulation.
100%.
Right. I think.
Wireheading.
Yeah. I really think that.
And that's where what Grace, the doom scroll, the
Yeah.
brain rot.
Yeah. I want to meet her actually. I probably want to film with her on the documentary.
Yeah, you should.
I think it's a really interesting concept. Yeah.
Yeah. Turn the device into a device.
Yeah.
We have not yet built
How does she want to do that?
inspiration algorithm. So you take the current feed, TikTok style feed, but while someone's scrolling, the scroll height is the intent, so your resonance function. So you're able to check video to video, not just a binary length function, how much did someone connect with that concept? Get them closer to basically, the upward spiral sort of psychological chart until they swiped all the way to the top, which exits the app, which gives an intentional exit data point, which meant I came to the feed to get inspired. Once we got them off, the job was done. It's maximize value for the user rather than maximize value from the user.
Okay.
And that's a BloomScroll.
I think it's wonderful, but who would deploy it? Is the question.
In what sense?
I mean, your social media Zuckerbergs want you to stay forever. They don't want to inspire.
Well, I think an algorithm is no different than a human relationship in the sense that it's a recommendation system of information.
Yeah.
Right? That's what all relationships in an abstraction form are. Therefore, we can imagine today our algorithm friendships are toxic, but you're never going to leave your toxic relationships truly without, there's the great replacement theory. And it is once you do a scroll that is fundamentally different that I think...
So you install that yourself?
It's an app.
On top of social media?
It's just a new app, BloomScroll.
Ah.
So it's...
And it monitors all of your...
No, it's...
So does it replace social media?
It's the same thing as TikTok,
But it's a different...
but the underlying algorithm is maximizing value for you.
And the content comes from their own servers?
2 minutes, we're back on stage.
All right.
People upload, it's essentially curation.
So it is social media as it should have been built.
Correct. The fact that no one's even done that is insane.
Because the child, I really need to talk to her because I was at Google when we built Google Plus.
Yeah.
The game with social is seeding, and seeding is impossible in a world where your friends are on another app.
I think, so the difference between, I'd say, I wouldn't even consider this a social network. And I think TikTok isn't even a social network.
It's not anymore.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because it's become more about the content than it is the
100%,
relationship.
Yeah.
And that's
It's
because...
an entertainment.
Right. And so since we've transcended that, and now we have this, we're basically maximizing the upload rate of emotional of manipulation to our brain. Right? We've maximized the screen, the music, the speed at which I can switch and enter between. Well, now actually an inspiration, you can't really do this with an X version, right? You're not going to scroll on text. That actually makes you feel something. But this can make you feel spirit. This can make you feel agency. This can make you feel real. Grace is my girlfriend, by the way.
Oh, is she?
Yeah. This was ideated between us.
You guys are a good fit.
Yes. Amazing.
I swear. Yes.
Yeah. No, I'm very blessed. We met like 4 months ago. And
I think you're aligned at the core.
Such a deep connection.
Yeah, that's lovely.
And
not common to find.
This was in my How We Saved the World book.
How is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was. Social media is the nervous system of our global organism.
Yeah.
Right? It's the attention is all you need. But if you think about that for our collective intelligence.
So I'd urge you and her to think about this slightly differently.
Okay.
So to put it, to deploy it in 2 layers, not one.
Okay.
I find it very useful if I had an app on my phone that monitored my social media.
Okay. Screen time.
Not screen time. So here is what you'll find amazing. If you look
I don't think an app can monitor other apps.
So yes and no, right? So basically it can monitor screen time and other stuff, right? But on YouTube you have your history, for example.
Right.
I am very deliberate around the way I use social media, right? So you know that for a fact.
And I 100%.
Yeah.
And I think you're blessed to have not built your reward function
Correct.
when you were young, because we've already wireheaded the youth.
But yes, and wireheaded me as well, by the way, right? It takes a lot of effort for me to go like, no, I'm not clicking on this. Right? And the idea is that the more you're disciplined in terms of what you click on and what you don't, the more your worldview shifts because the algorithm will respond.
What you feeds you.
Correct. So, is there a way for Grace to have some kind of API? Look at my YouTube history, and somehow sort of guide me as I'm browsing in the future based on what actually is good for me.
Right. I think
And so in that case, what I'm trying to say, I don't know if it's doable. What I'm trying to say is, instead of trying to move the users away from YouTube,
Right.
or from worse off,
Yep.
TikTok and Instagram and so on,
Yep.
or God forbid X,
Right.
Instead of trying to be the fifth platform,
right.
you can say, I fit with all the platforms. I'm going to improve your life there.
Right.
Right. So it's almost like I'm your personal trainer. You don't have to come to the gym.
Yep.
Instead of building the gym.
Correct. This is possible only on desktop because you need browser or Chrome extension basically, or a browser extension in order to be a top level layer
Yeah.
of changing. So it won't fix TikTok, but I think like what Bloom is the solution to TikTok, but we'll say
Is the replacement to TikTok.
exactly.
Yeah.
And on mobile, you're not able to do your solution. But if we think about solving YouTube, which I think you're correct. You're not going to build the Bloom version of that
Yeah.
because, or of
The
X because it's not.
Yeah, and the infrastructure
Exactly.
cost is incredible.
It's not just an entertainment platform. It's
Yeah.
different. So I think fundamentally, though, for X and for YouTube, by doing this and being successful enough,
Yeah.
I think you can also shift those companies to make a decision to kind of implement that.
Yeah,
That would be the hope.
an interesting subset of that, believe it or not, is news. So news, you can actually find what you're reading on
Right.
the screen.
That's actually what someone just. So I've been doing something called startup-a-thons. That's where the GIF platform came from.
Yeah.
It's basically a hackathon, which the prize is you get funded and you get equity
Yeah.
to go build that company.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted when I was in college, and so I'm running that in India. And so we send like 5,000 engineers the same idea. Whoever builds it, you get selected. Now you're doing it. And so someone I met at FII was like, I want unbiased news
Yeah.
as a Chrome extension.
Yeah.
And so we just sent that out actually to get
Yeah.
developed.
No way. I'd really like to look at that.
Awesome.
I had a multi-billionaire once, without mentioning names, but it was 2016, 2017, coming to me and saying, can we build a platform that is a lie detector, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it'll show you the bias.
Yeah.
Yeah, bias.
And at the time we didn't have enough AI to do it. Now it's very, very easy if you think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you've seen some of like the Friend, like the hardware necklaces.
No, what's that?
Friend, it's basically always on listening.
Yeah.
One of the dev teams built one of those just on the phone though, called OVA. And then my favorite feature about it is, so it's like live transcription similar to Otter,
Yeah.
but it has live fact checking. So if someone says something wrong, it pings and says,
No way.
that was false or that was a lie or here's the correct date. That's my favorite feature of it.
That's
I
very
haven't seen-
cool. What is it called? OVA?
Yeah, OVA. OVA Drive.
That's very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go back.
So, I'm very excited. I think you're one of the most important minds in the world today.
Oh, you're so kind. No, I'm not. I'm one of the good hearts in the world today.
No, you're literally like, if we look at this as the Don't Look Up movie, you're the scientist who's actually starting the game.
So kind of you.
Like I look at all this, I look for.
I was just telling Alex, that when I come to those conferences,
Yeah.
because of my past, I constantly go like, oh, come on, like I have so many startup ideas in my mind,
Right.
and I go like, no.
The weeds are going.
Yeah, exactly. It's the weeds, and in a very interesting way, I can make so many of them work.
Right.
And then what? I'll buy 6 more cars. Like, who
Right.
the fuck needs 6 more cars?
Right.
That's the whole point.
Well, here's where I challenge you to do that.
Yeah.
Because this is the vision I've been planning for myself, but I think you would be able to excel at it in a much bigger way, and you have more of the budget and network in order to do this in a bigger way. There's the idea that there's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. One could say that people are like ideas; they're just a bag of ideas. So there's nothing more powerful than the person whose time has come, and I think this is your time.
You're very kind. Thank you for saying that.
I believe this fundamentally. I am looking at the world and saying, where are the role models?
You'll be amazed how frustrating it is. It is just mad how because you see I went through stages. So I actually left Google 2018 and I started talking about this 2018 and documented it actually. So I left on the 18th of March. On the 21st of March I released a video. At the time I called it 1 billion happy because I didn't think Google would be very happy if I went and said we should stop AI 3 days later. And the entire video is about AI and how AI is going to shape our world from a positive perspective, that if we teach it well,
Right.
it's going to make all of us happy. 2020 I write Scary Smart, 2021 it's out. I know everybody everywhere. No news network would put me on, right? Until 2023, ChatGPT comes out, or end of 22, everyone's calling me to talk about the existential risk,
Right.
right? And you know, I'm like, I've been crying about this for 5 years, but it's not the existential risk that's the issue. You're diluting the real issue. The real issue is human greed. The real issue is, you know, I call it raising Superman. Are we actually raising a superhero or a supervillain?
Right.
Right. And every year that passes, I tell myself so clearly, we could have stopped this.
Right.
We could have created the future of utopia. We could have simply created something that loves us and everyone loves it.
Yep.
And nobody's listening.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's what resonates with people is when we say, what do we actually want AI to do? We just want it to solve disease and then do the labor, but that's like, do we want it to just turn us into, you know, hive mind, you know, connected to the screen? And so fundamentally, a wake-up call for me in terms of my own thinking, like, okay, I'm trying to maximize the good karma I get, right? We could say my greed is for, I want to.
Yeah. I say 1 billion happy makes me a billionaire by the time I die.
Exactly. So, fundamentally, I know it's a controversial name, but Andrew Tate was proof that a man
100%.
could go from zero to hero in terms of a message.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what his message is, by the way.
Right.
Because he's actually genuine about it.
Right.
So, I actually respect that.
That's what people loved.
Yeah.
And people, and it was a reaction to the lack of positive masculinity basically pushing.
Yeah.
And so the next wave is the lack of people outside the weeds. So it's, you know, his thing was top G. I like to say this next wave is top V.
V, what's that?
Vibes.
Uh-huh.
That's the term for the youth,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it's deeper than
See
that.
how old I am?
It's all vibes. And also, I mean, this is already the international gang sign for peace, world peace.
Yeah.
So, you know, what is a top V? It's a mix of exactly what you are. It's tech, it's storytelling, and then it's a little bit of that enlightenment. And what is enlightenment at its core? It's the recognition of what value is, which is the value is how much you give, not how much that material wealth will go to zero.
Yeah.
And what is the eternal currency of this world? It's good karma. So I call that the golden meme. Because I'm deep into the idea of how memes are, I think, an expression of, you know, brain rot is the youth's meme to basically say, fuck, we know we've been drugged. We know that we've been attacked. So we are going to joke about it because that's the coping mechanism.
Yeah.
But it's their culture telling us adults, please unfuck us.
I think you should unfuck everyone. Honestly. I mean, I really, we're on record, but
Yes.
I will tell you openly, I think the big challenge is that you don't see what happens in the boardrooms.
That's why I think it's the integration of the shadow. It's the spiritual way of saying it.
Yeah.
But if we can convert the greed to understand the real game.
Yeah, I think one of the things, so I wanted to write a book called 7 Stories. I probably will end up writing it one day. Which is, I think most of what I know, everyone knows fragments of. But when you put them all together to understand how we ended up where we are, it's mind-blowing. And if you're a strategist, if you're really all about solving very complex algorithms, you get to a point where you realize there is actually no way you can solve this one. It's so well built, the seven stories. They come together, just to give you an example, the story of money, the story of money and economics is one story, the story of media and propaganda is another story, the story of the forever war is another story, and so on. And you just put them all together, and suddenly you realize the real only way to get this done is to disconnect the console and start the game again. Okay? And that doesn't mean the world has to end, but it basically means that you have to remove this entire setup.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the switch of this paradigm to the V.
Yeah.
Which is where
Yeah.
the vibes rule.
Yeah. 100%.
And by the way, I think that's happening through. I think meme coins is a much deeper thing than most people realize.
I never got that. It's rooting for what you think matters.
If you
with your investment.
Correct. What currency is a shared belief system.
Yeah.
What we've done is the same way we left legacy media and entered creator economy, which created attention meritocracy. We're still very early from legacy finance into token economy, which is shared belief system meritocracy. And so the base of that is happening through this meme coin world, which is a culture prediction market.
When I wanted to build that lie detector, I thought a coin would solve the problem. It's the idea that people would vote and say,
well, funnily enough, the underlying right now, because people don't understand currency in that form, it's still trading dogs and dumb things.
Yeah.
There's been some religious style ones or movements. There's one called Giga, which is Giga Chad, which is I work out, I'm strong, I'm based. This is actually a group of people who have found a culture online where they're connecting to strength and agency, right? Which is the correct meme against the pervasiveness of the extraction of your agency, the control of you. And so that's cool, right? To start to see those popping up. But yeah, a fundamental way that how do you accelerate that happening? I see this as an inevitable thing, but the acceleration of it is just the information. So there's an information diffusion happening with, say, Bitcoin. Some people think Bitcoin is just this investment thing, but then there's the other people who saw the first principles of it and said Bitcoin is inevitable, right? And that's the people who very early on, when I'm sinking all my money into this, hard currency will win.
yeah.
The market will move its funds towards there over time. So there's these very interesting paradigms. There's the very interesting infrastructure, and there's a complete lack of a spiritual leader, in essence. I think of the AI, robotics, crypto. Feel free to steal this. I like this. I want it to get used more. Is the arc of humanity. Those are the three most important places, and it is the mind, body, and spirit.
Oh.
Everyone gets mind, body. Not a lot of people get crypto as spirit, but
Oh, we love that. Man. You see, lots of those concepts, if they stick, they could change the world.
but we're memifying it right here and now, right? So I'll tell you my game plan, and I want to share it's in the How We Saved the World book, but I wrote something down called story hacking. What he was talking about with European Union, for example, government level. I had written this blueprint prior to a guy, Phidias, who won as a 24-year-old independent with the most amount of votes ever in history for European Parliament. I wrote his blueprint as the thing that could catalyze someone to win a presidency or to go Andrew Tate level, not by being fundamentally controversial, but by fundamentally being someone who's going after a mission. his rise to fame was basically creating content that said day one of staying outside Twitter till I hug Elon Musk. And so there was this engagement algorithm hacking that happens from a story like that. You have a sensational finish. You have a core of people who are essentially hacking the algorithm with you because you have a sequential mission happening. Right? So there's a flag post, and then slowly the algorithm's finding the right people, and those people are way more engaged because you're not just doing a different video every time.
Yeah.
So he built hundreds of millions of people watched that. There's enough people caring about that mission happening. There's enough pings happening to Elon now. 62 days in, he hugs Elon. Right? And that video goes mega viral. But then the entire mission, all his views die because he goes back to random content. So I see that as revolutionary. That is a revolutionary mechanism. If you pair it, say 7. In the story hacking thing, I said you would do 7 missions related to 7 different sort of areas of interest with a sensational sort of piece. Now that would be different tiers of potential. You couldn't say the 7th one is that we're going to elect somebody who.
That's a brilliant idea.
This is once I recognized this in essence that Andrew Tate, is he smarter than us? No.
He's just more driven.
Did he have more money? No. Did he actually just try the most important fundamental thing, which venture capitalists do not fund, which is story hacking or narrative hacking? The main power that all the real world game players aren't going after, and the most important one, and the one that wakes humanity up, is narrative. Right? No one funds moonshots for narrative. But there are obvious ways you can go absolutely own the internet in that sense.
Yeah, I think that the most important though is to be on the pulse of what matters.
100%.
Yeah.
Shift the Overton window is.
Yeah, my timing so far has been positively off. It's quite interesting. I was always ahead of the curve by 2.5 to 3 years. So most of what I predicted in Scary Smart happens 2 years later. But the curve is becoming so short now.
Yep.
So it's like the intervals are narrowing.
Yep.
And so if I keep trying to do what I am trying to do, I think I'll be with the pulse at a point in time. It's not a secret in my mind that we will see the, glimpses of ACI, as I call it, artificial criminal intelligence, in 2025, 2026. And in an interesting way that will act like an important wake-up call, if you want.
100%.
That it is, I don't know if you've seen Alvin's presentation today. It was amazing. He was talking about the war between the US and China and AI being part of it. And, and the idea that, in my mind, there will be moments in our near future where winning against China is going to be less important than winning against a hacker of some sort. So we might align with that. I think it's about to happen. Sadly, again, you would hope that humanity didn't have to get to that point, but it seems that we're so preoccupied with our own needs, as I keep saying. But it is about to become timely. We'll see. Shall we go in? You're a very, very, very interesting thinker, my friend. I wish I had your energy and brains.
Well, we have
I have very little energy and a very old brain. So it's good because it's efficient at analyzing what it has, but it is old.
What's funny is I'm jealous of your position.
It's not a bad place to be. I'll tell you that openly.
Your ultimate credibility and network, I think, is what enables you to more easily do what I'm trying to do. But I think
my network definitely helps.
But I think also,
Ability maybe.
but I think there's no, there's, there's a need for multitudes of the out of the weeds sort of thinker. And I would say, by the way, so my plan here, I'm in the weeds, robotics startup. I see this as a way to build the war chest to allow me to go hack narrative.
100%.
Now I can just fund
100%. So I go to
droid virality, which is me virality, which is
Absolutely.
now I'm talking on everything.
I keep telling people this, and I really believe it. If when I wrote my first book, I wrote it because I lost my wonderful son, and it was really a turning point, if you want, in every way to my life. But if I had been a grieving father who lost his son and was writing about how to find happiness in the toughest of situations, but I wasn't the chief business officer of Google X, I would have never been published.
Yeah.
Right? I wasn't published because I was writing about something useful. I was published because, like you're saying, you are in the weeds to get yourself above the weeds.
Yeah.
And but I will also tell you openly, I think in the world we live in today, there is an incredible value to passion.
Yeah.
Right? If you in my world, when I was your age, you had to work for 11 years to get anywhere.
Right.
You could get somewhere tomorrow if you do the right thing with the right passion.
Right.
Right? And I think you just keep trying. Maybe I'll be the one that makes the message clear, or maybe you will. Nobody really knows, honestly.
Yeah.
But my ask is that everyone tries. Right? I actually tell people openly, very frequently I get people saying, oh, Mo, I read this in your book, I have this institute, can I teach it? And I'm like, please, teach anything you want. The whole idea is borrow and just tell the world, because we're running out of time, believe it or not.
Yep.
And so, I don't know, maybe one of us will buy the other a drink when we save the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll buy you a coffee. If you save the world, you buy me a coffee if I do.
Throw a party on the moon.
Or no. This is a very Californian dream. No, I think Earth is wonderful as it
I think it's a Gen Z dream. I think it speaks to the youth of like, where are we going?
So I really love it here. I think a party out here is wonderful. if we just not stop destroying it. Yeah, man, it's lovely.
So,
Yeah,
I want to leave you with, I didn't feel like I closed the piece where if you truly just want to become the messenger, like Hermes,
I want to be the messenger. Yeah.
I think there's two main paths that guarantee success. One is through education. No one has ever taken a school, which is essentially an army of media students,
Schools are over.
and one of the biggest upgrades to humanity is upgrading education, as we know,
100%.
for
Yeah.
resilience.
So education, yes. Schools.
So how do you tell the story that school is over? You upgrade an existing school.
Correct.
You take their entire media arm, because that's what tells the story, and rather than them doing any written homework, they all become storytellers together of creating the most viral campus in the world. I'm sure you have access to actually make that happen.
Yeah.
Where you can go tell a school, let me take over the media. Here's what we're going to do. Each day, each student's going to post one video where they say, day one of making this the most viral university in the world. When you have 300 students in the area there, and they're all tagging one main account, you have 300 algorithm hackers with that method, which produced the guy who got the most votes ever in history, telling a crazy story towards this bigger thing. They also create an account which is of their passion, and they create one which is of a channel which was already successful in another country. The cultural arbitrage of building an app in another country has not been done for content. So this is another big piece. So that's one method, through the school. The second is obviously content houses have been that was what created Charlie D'Amelio, Dixie D'Amelio. I took over the old Hype House after they finished with a friend, but this was around startups, and I shouldn't have. I wasn't out of the weeds yet, yeah, with my mind, so I didn't take full advantage of the potential, basically. But part of that was because I didn't build the right people. So everyone, in essence, became too powerful for the household to contain, right? Because once now, it used to be, oh, you're paying their rent, so now they're there and they're happy. Once they can make one post, and that buys their own mansion's rent for a month, why are they at yours?
Yeah.
And so, but that's a tried and true thing, where if you take a group of existing famous people, you put them in a house together, you are combining the effect of engagement to their new stage. And it is a tried and true method for just instantly grabbing internet power, right? Here's a bunch of internet power. When they come together, it's like the internet's like holy shit, because you also want to see the two characters. How do they converge?
Yeah.
What does that convergence look like? So those are two different pieces that I think you set your mind to it through various ways of intention. Maybe it looks like, well, one of the most powerful things for probably any nation to do is, or the network state idea, is to build a creator city. Why has no one done this at the castle level? Why has it only been done at the house level? The house can't contain it, but the idea of building a city can. And so if you do it at a big enough place, a school can. It's also, the school has this effect of the content creators will want to come to that school to collaborate with you, because you provide them essentially a multi-million-dollar asset of there being hundreds of people willing to do a content video together. That currently costs any individual influencer millions of dollars to fly everyone out, their team do background checks, etc., etc. The campus becomes the collaboration campus for other creators.
Does
So
it have to
that
be
a college
physical? Can it not be a community, for example?
has to be physical.
You think so?
Yes. There are many. I mean, unless
In a world where we are becoming less and less bound to, there's nothing that replaces this conversation.
what people want to see is the energetic exchange.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, the way it can be done non-physical is the Andrew Tate method was, if you get everyone to post the content of you.
Yeah.
Because then your face, as a face enters the world stage, which is a hive mind, which is searching, and also it's, in a weird sense, this culture sort of amalgamation. As a new face enters the stage in a strong way, virality begets virality.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
they're getting famous, that makes you more famous based on
Yeah.
who it's like you're showing up to the party. You have a chance to basically
It's basically you're that picture board where everyone is taking
you're the
a
new
picture.
guy.
Yeah.
And people are like, who is this guy, right? Like, what is he bringing to the table? So
Man, you're challenging me. My brain is too old for this. I have to think deeply about this. But I see what you're saying. I see that it really matters, actually. Yeah. But you're good at it. They say if you're anything that was invented before you were 14, to you is just things. If anything invented after you're 14 is technology. Everything invented before you were 14 is just part of your life. It's like like a fridge,
Right.
We don't think of a fridge as a technology, right?
Right.
I think that's the difference between us. The internet, to me, believe it or not, as geeky as I am, has never really become second nature.
Right.
To you it is. To you, you see it like navigating a city. Yeah, it's a very strong advantage, I can tell you that.
Let me be a GPS.
100% deal. Absolutely. Man, 100%. No, seriously, I need it. I badly need it, man. Yeah. Alright, yalla, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I asked the team if they want